Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for coming. So, welcome to this meeting of the Landlord Services Advisory Board. My name is Paul Rivers, and I have the pleasure of being the co-portfolio holder for housing, and it's in brackets the operations bit, you know, the exciting bit. My turn to chair this board this morning. Before we really get into it, I wondered if we could just press our microphones once at a time, go round and say who we are, because I'm assured that there are hordes of people besides Jill on the interweb, just very keen to watch our business this morning. So I don't know, Danielle, can you kick off? And then we'll work our way around this way.
Danielle Slytone from the Tenants Panel.
Thank you.
Jeanette Engerfield, the Tenant Involvement Officer.
Jackie Keane, Councillor for Shottermill and Critchmere Hazelmere.
Chris Shipway, Ian Williams, Business Manager.
Good morning, Annalisa Howson, Housing Service Improvement Manager.
Good morning, Andrew Smith, Head of Housing Delivery and Communities.
Louise Fleming, Democratic Services and Business Support Manager.
Oh, very cozy. That's very good. So, okay, agenda item number 1 then. Apologies. Louise, have we any?
None received, Chairman.
Thank you very much. And item 2, minutes of the meeting, our last meeting on 31st of March, which are published on the website. Members, are you in agreement with the minutes? Great, lovely, thank you very much. And now item 3, any declarations?
None received before the meeting, Chairman.
Thank you. Okay.
When we get down to item 5, garage briefing, I must say that we actually rent a garage from Waverley Borough Council.
Oh, so you're the one. Excellent. Well, I imagine you will. I think that item is really for noting, isn't it, Annalisa?
Yes, that's fine. Thank you for sharing that information.
Okay. Item 4 then, we have an introduction to our responsive repairs and voids contractor, Ian Williams, and we have a presentation from Chris Shepway and Kate Green, I believe. So if I can pass this meeting over to you, we sit back and await. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So yes, as I already introduced myself, Chris Shipway, Ian Williams, Business Manager, and based here at Waverley Borough Council every day. And then we have Kate Green, who's on screen, who's also going to be joining us today. She's the General Manager, and yeah, we'll be able to field any questions as well later on, and then is available. So yeah, thank you firstly for inviting us. I appreciate the time that we've got. So what we're going to do today is mainly the 4 topics that we have on the screen here is to explain the differences between the interim contract and the new contract that we are now in, our key priorities sort of going forward, and also we'll be looking at how we aim to monitor and review our performance going forward now into the future, and probably most importantly of all, our customers and the positive impact that we can have with them, and also with yourselves at Waverley Borough Council, which I think is the key thing going forward. So, interim versus new. I joined. I came into the role back in August. When we were in this interim contract, and obviously coming out, I don't know if it's the right thing to say, the back end of COVID, although it's still with us. And obviously Ian Williams had come in March 2020. we said it was an interim contract for this period, covering the responsive repairs, minor works, aids and adaptations, and also the voids. From the time prior to my arrival, obviously we put in and we tendered for the new contract, which was for a 5+, and that was agreed, and the mobilisation for that actually started in February. We've been working sort of towards that since then, and the official contract start date for the new contract was the 1st of April, where we started with an induction within this room with our entire team, which we'll go into more detail. Obviously, you know, between where we are now and what we have been dealing with, you know, COVID, never like to use that as an excuse, but it's been out there and had a real impact on our delivery and what we've been able to do over the last few months, and, you know, the challenges with resource, etc. But we didn't want to, as I said, keep using that or use that as an excuse. And going forward, we've had a big drive and changing our structure in our teams. And as I said, we'll go into that and see the difference, which is what all this is about here today. If we go on to the next slide, so the scope of the contract, very similar, 24 hours, 365 days a year cover, looking at responsive repairs, which will include the out-of-hours service. Obviously, void refurbishment, including kitchen and bathroom replacements as well. The biggest difference there going forward will be where we've used subcontractors in the past. There are still a few that we use, but our aim, and as we speak, we'll be using direct labour. Going forward, that is our key driver, direct labour that report into us and for us to manage, and also, you know, manage across all areas then and have that flexibility to you know, if the void numbers are slightly lower, we can put more on response if we feel that there's a need, but be more flexible. And we know our team now, and yeah, I think a real positive approach there. Also the aids and adaptations that we've still we're looking after, and minor works. And with all of these, we are within, again, the beauty of having our direct labour team, we're able to highlight individuals that can specialise in these areas and perform even better than before, and really concentrate on using those key skills to get these areas and get people working in the areas that best suit them as well, and manage that. So yeah, really pleased and positive about that approach going forward. As far as sorry, I have to keep twisting those, that's fine. So how are we going to achieve this? You know, we talked about that we're now going to use direct labour, and certainly, you know, September onwards was a tough, you know, has been a tough time for all. But resources is the key to all of this. Not only sort of my appointment, a new contracts manager that has come on board, and it's come on very strong as well. Great, vast experience working up in London and now coming down here and actually relocating down this way as well. A real passion for Waverley and doing well. And also contracts manager voids was set up with 2 permanent surveyors on board. And the key ones for me really, and are the ones that are going to make a massive difference to us going forward, are the customer liaison officer, who we have yet to recruit, but are in interview stage and have second interviews next week. And this individual is going to be the key link between our operational team in the office, myself and the contracts managers, and the planning team, which we'll go on to in a second. This individual will have a key role, and in my words would be to be involved with any issues before they become complaints, and just have the overall sight between the planners and the operational team, and more importantly, the customer service team at Waverley. Great communication with them to be able to get out and be reactive quicker than we've ever been before, and not just rely on the contract managers to support that. It's another key, it's an additional key role we've never had, and I think it's going to be invaluable. Hence, the interview process is taking as long as it is, because it's got to be the right person. It really has. And hopefully by the end of the next week, we might have some positive news on that as well. Fingers crossed there. 2 dedicated planners. In the past, the calls from the customer service team here at Waverley, who do a fantastic job, have been going through to the hub, different teams set up there. What myself and Kate have been able to do and change is we have now gone back, which I believe you had a couple of years ago, dedicated planners, 2 individuals that are solely dedicated to Waverley on a day-to-day basis. Two people that we now know we have direct numbers to, as my team and the Waverley customer service team have, to just pick up the phone and talk to the same individual day in, day out. A team, if it's 2 people, a team that know the portfolio, that know the operatives, that know the customer services team, and have taken real ownership over this contract, and working with them even in the short time of April since they started. It's been superb, and I'm positive that if you talk to the customer service team now at Waverley as well, they will agree with that. We've involved these 2 dedicated planners in everything we do, with weekly meetings, daily meetings, and they were even here on the 1st of April for our induction, which I think was really key that they're part of this team and seen as that. They are based in Birmingham, but it makes no difference. They're on the end of the phone, and again, we aim to get them down quarterly as well, and there's a real good relationship being built there. I think the relationship I just touched on is key as well. Certainly a driver for me was to work with Waverley and as close as I could, and now where we're located, I think is a real positive. I am based myself with my contracts managers in the call centre with the customer services team, and there is continued communication now and talking. It's not the end of the phone or in a different part of the building. We're hearing things come in. We're talking, myself, Ben Cox and Helen, working together, and that's the only way we're going to move this forward, working together. And I'm not looking at getting out of that position there or in that area. It's a live and a live environment, but it's a positive one, and I believe again going forward this will be superb, particularly with the 2 dedicated planners and the customer liaison officer that will be based in this office, pulling all of that together as well. So a real sort of good team there, and that's a core team, Waverley, Annie and Williams working together. We still have 2 4-persons, and that will continue. But the biggest change will be, and this is flexible, we are going to be at 22 operatives currently with the adverts that I still have out. We have 18 in place at the moment, and that's been driven up from 8 that we had last year. Yes, some of those will be working on voids. As I said, we want full control over our labour, going out onto all the jobs that we do in all the areas. But again, the flexibility that we have there then to use the right skill set on the right jobs and go into 22 is on my next drive. And I've got another interview on Tuesday, and we'll keep that going. And if we have to go to 24 because the work's there, we'll go to 24. And if it's 30, we'll go to 30. But as it stands, that's what we're working at, which hopefully when you look at those with those key changes, the customer liaison, 2 dedicated planners and a workforce that's double in size, that's a huge step forward. And we will see results from that. Okay. So our key priorities going forward, as you can see, excuse me.
May we have these slides? Is it possible to have these
Well, I'm
slides,
more than
please?
happy, yeah.
Rather than keep making notes of what you're saying.
Absolutely, and I should have said maybe from the beginning as well, there will be some time for questions, and more importantly, as I said, I am based here, and I'm more than happy to hang around and be here for any questions at the end, and a coffee or whatever anyone wants to do to have a chat, so certainly. So key priorities going forward, we have spoken with communication is key with everything that we do, but clear and concise communication, and I keep mentioning it, the client, the customer, each other, our planners, and eventually our customer liaison officer as well. We're all going to be talking together. Some of that will be informal, the day-to-day conversations that we are already having, but there are also formal daily, weekly, monthly meetings that are in place to actually capture this and make sure that the actions are being hit and targeted and driven. Positive approach. Everybody I'm working with, we're here for a reason. We want to achieve. And the only way we're going to do that is to remain positive, and we are positive about why we're here and what we want to achieve, and be the best that we can, not only for ourselves as a business, but also for Waverley. We represent Waverley when we're out there, and it's important that we're positive for the council as well. Solution mode, solutions. We've worked really hard with our team, not to go in and scratch their head and we can't do this, can't do that. We're here to achieve. Again, remaining positive, and we've really enforced that we don't have barriers or hurdles. We want people to be coming up, even if it's something they can't achieve, but coming up with solutions. And again, with this direct labour team that we have and the flexibility, we know where individual skill sets are set based, and how we can best move them around and make sure with the dedicated planners that they're put on the right jobs in the first place. Ultimately, again, provide the best tenant and client experience. You know, for Ian Williams, that's really important. People as a whole, that's why we're here, and we genuinely do wish it is a positive experience for the tenants. And I'm sure that will be discussed later. But the different customer surveys that are going to be produced throughout going forward and over time, we'll hopefully, you know, we'll see that rise. And you know, it is our goal to be the best that we can, and you know, the tenants of Waverley are happy and positive. Teamwork and partnership, again, we've mentioned, and it will continue. And I'm a key driver of that, and I will do everything I can. And as I said, already are with Helen and Ben's help, and Heather and Hugh. You know, at all levels, we're talking, and you know, Kate's involvement from my side. It really is a you know, joined up thinking all together, and it's nice to be working within the team, which I include Waverley in, that all have the same vision and passion. And that has been really positive. We're not out to look for blame, we're out to look for solutions and getting it done, and getting it done well and quickly and first time. And you know, we are seeing that happen. Continuous improvement, as I've just touched on, we should be proud of what we do at all levels, you know, from the operatives up as well. We've discussed that. You know, you treat everything you do as if it was your own. And that's the same for me. I'm a Waverley resident and I want to be proud. I drove home last night and I saw two of my operatives, and they were working overtime to get something done. Fantastic job what they were doing. It was nice to see. And, you know, as a resident, it's nice to drive around and see the positive impact that we're having. And I really hope to drive that forward. And we are going to be judged on everything we do. And there are KPIs, and we'll go into those in a second. But we don't want just to be good KPIs, we want excellent KPIs. There's MLAPs and there's targets, and we want to be being the best that we can and achieving the highest standards that we can as well, hence the excellent. So it's all very well saying that we're going to be out there doing all these things and working together and communicating well, but we need to monitor this. And not only is it going to be my drive home and looking at the works that have been done, but there are some more formal pieces that are taking place. And they are, we mentioned the KPIs. We have the MLAP, which is sort of the base, but we also have the target. And myself, Kate, and my team are driven towards the targets, not the MLAPs. Our goal is the targets. With the new contract, we still have the old jobs as well, because you know, with March and some other bits and bobs, they are still a priority. I think that's really key at this stage. All our works are a priority. We're going forward from a new contract point of view, and having looked at these twice daily sometimes, but daily, weekly, monthly. As far as this month goes to date, I can honestly say that we are hitting all targets for April. And, you know, in the next couple of weeks, we'll be producing those results. And I hope to be, you know, be able to stand in front of all of you saying that we've achieved that, and going forward, that is our goal. Is the greens, the targets are our goal going forward, working with Waverley. So that's that is simply it. I mean, there's no other way to explain it. We aim for targets and the highest possible results that we can, and also what comes with that is the first time fixes, and not just, you know, scoring well and doing it. It's doing it well and being proud of what we do. Okay.
I'm sorry, can I just interrupt for a second? We've got another tenant who's going to join us. They've just been in reception, so they're on their way up, just to let you know. It's Simon Telling, he's the member of the tenants panel.
And just within that, just a quick list. I did say, you know, there are daily planning meetings, there are weekly in Williams business meetings, there's weekly voids meetings, weekly response meetings, operational meets as well with myself and Waverley. Then there are monthly as well with Waverley, and then there's the core, which is the quarterly. We are all scrutinising what we're doing on the ground, what the stats are saying, and what the customers are saying as well. And not only are we listening to that and recording all of these things, the most important thing of all with all of these is what we're doing about it. Good or bad, we're listening to it and we're trying to make some change. positive change. And I think that's really key as well going forward. There's a lot of communication between both parties there. And as I said, hopefully not only will it drive those targets, but actually we'll be achieving what our tenants want and need.
Quickly, Chris, if I may, forgive me for being a bit dumb because I'm new to this game, but MLAP stands for what?
It's the base level. It's the minimum sort of level that we should be hitting. If we start hitting that level, then we're going to be starting to seriously review the actual breakdown of it. Sorry, the actual acronym.
Is minimum level of acceptable performance.
And A&A.
Aids and adaptations.
Thanks very much.
I'm with you. I'm still picking a couple of these up, but no, I'm there. Thank you, Kate. So this is it's going into my last slide. I said I'm conscious of time, but I said I will be staying. Our customers and the positive impact that Ian Williams will have. So our promise. I'm sorry, I might have had you can click all the way through. Is build a team that understand the key drivers. We had we set aside a whole day for an induction for our operatives. I can sit here now and say we're going to achieve this, we're going to achieve that. It's not going to work unless I've got the buy-in from my entire team, and that's what we do have. And I think what is key there is that we meet. Not only do we talk to these guys daily, but we also have fortnightly meetings with the entire team and the contracts manager and myself, meeting with the team. We are sharing the KPIs with them. They are part of this. They have real ownership of this contract too, and what we wish to achieve. So a real buy-in there. The next point, again, it's all about positivity. We've got to be positive and drive this forward. And I keep saying about our customers and our clients. The next one, we aim to seek out solutions, knock down barriers, jump over hurdles. We're all about resolving things, not just putting things on the back burner or ignoring it. We really want to get things achieved first time. The next point is to go above and beyond and keep driving, and above and beyond from where we've been in the past, but even from where we're at now, and keep pushing. And I said, we'll get that from the feedback from our customers, from yourselves. And as I said, I wish to turn around, whether it be good or bad feedback, negative, constructive, whatever we want to call it, we will drive it forward and make improvements where we can. We're going to listen. Next one, communicate effectively. Well, it goes hand in hand with everything we've said. I've touched on the next one already, just before with listening to feedback, which is that you can flick through more. I think the last one is keep our promise. There we go. We'll listen to feedback. We need to understand the tenant's needs. And again, that's coming through the customer surveys that are going to be done, but also the contact that we have whilst we're out and about. And that's where I think the customer liaison officer will be key, is going out. It is going to be an out on the ground role as well. To work with Waverley Borough, it will never work unless we all come together on this. And again, I'm really positive there already. And everything that I've just said today is to keep our promises. And, this isn't just a PowerPoint slide for everybody to see and keep everybody happy. This is what we believe. This is what I'm driving towards. And this is what me and my team are out to achieve. And, I'd love to be able to come back at another point and say, and make sure that I've kept my promises to you. I'm not going to hide behind anything. I'm here to achieve. It's that simple on behalf of Ian Williams. Any questions? And yes, you can have the PowerPoint presentation.
Right. Thank you, Chris. Yes, Jackie, I know. Hang on. Firstly, it's my pleasure to welcome Simon Telling to this meeting. Good to have you. And I believe Heather, you've got your hand up, but I can't see it. So
I do have my hand up. Good morning, everyone. This is hot off the press because I literally only got the raw data this morning from the TLF, the market research company who are doing the tenant satisfaction. So they have been doing their pilots over the last month, over April. They've been getting everything set up. So I literally did, it's rough and ready, back of a fag packet type calculations, but it's just to give an indication of where we are in terms of tenant satisfaction. My gut feeling is it's okay. We've got work to do, but actually I was expecting it to be a lot worse. So it's a good foundation. But if we take the scores come in 1 to 10, if we can recall the presentation from Chris last month, but scores are go from 1 to 10. So I've taken scores 1 to 4 as the dissatisfaction scores. they are sitting at 16 now. This was out of a pilot of 50 different surveys undertaken. The neutral scores 5 and 6, they represent 6%, and the scores that I have considered satisfaction high, satisfaction and very satisfied meet 78. So we're not quite there at the MLab, the minimum level of acceptable performance at 80, but it's not far from it. It's a small sample, so it's not necessarily representative, but it shows us where we need to go and what we need to focus on. Like I said, I don't have any more data because I only got the raw information this morning, and that was sort of very quick calculations. But I have asked one of my team to start looking at the themes just to see if anything's coming up. But she will share that with Chris and Kate next week. I think there's a joint meeting set up to review this. But I thought everyone would be interested in those figures.
Thanks, thanks, Heather. Question from Jackie. Anybody else at this point? Okay, Jackie, please.
Thank you. So, thank you very much, Chris. It's been very interesting hearing what you've had to tell us. The one thing I was interested to ask you is, you have a 24-hour cover, which is 365 days a year. Now, I know that we have an out-of-hours phone line for people that do have difficulties and they need some repairs doing quickly. And sometimes tenants say they can't get any information from that line for some reason or another. So my question to you, Chris, is do you have a telephone number that tenants can contact you on in a real emergency, so that they can get sorted out rapidly? I don't know whether Waverley would agree with that, but I think it's probably something that tenants would need to know. Thank you.
Thanks, Jackie. Chris?
I think it's unfair to ask Chris that question, because the tenants need to contact the council to request our services, not go direct. So the out of hours number is a Waverley number. It goes, I'm looking at Heather, I can't remember.
Bracknell.
So
District Council now provide the service on behalf of all out of hours for the council, and they are actually very good compared to the service we were getting previously.
Yeah, so we can only we only want to publicise one number for an out of hour service to avoid any confusion. So it should go through there. And as I say, I know there were issues with the service historically, but as Heather said, we've got the new contractor in place and it's been working very well. So they have the direct access to whoever's on call from Waverley's side on and also the direct numbers to get the operatives out.
Okay, thank you for that. It's just that I know there had been issues in the past, quite serious ones, so I'm happy to hear that improved.
Sorry, Councillor Koenig, if I can just assure you, Bracknell will, I think, because unfortunately it doesn't fall under housing, the contract, it's under Richard Homewood's service and business continuity, but we get a very good service. They came on board in October and have made such a difference. I think because they are a landlord local authority as well, they understand the pressures a bit more and understand the service delivery, so that has made a difference. But I would like to assure you as well, there's always a housing manager within my team that's on call as well. They have their number so that they can unstick and they can contact Chris and Kate and their team as well. So there is an escalation process there as well. So any of the members, the on-call senior manager knows that detail as well. So there is contingency within the process, but I totally appreciate there was real issues, I think, especially the Christmas before last and trying to get access through, even phones answered in the first instance to report issues. So I fully appreciate where the concerns coming from.
Chris, you
if I may as well, yeah. Excuse me, something I didn't touch on or go into great detail on that is our emergency response time now in the new contract is 2 hours attendance. So that is a difference. And as Heather rightly said there as well, there is an escalation process within my team, and I'm on that and have been called, and more than happy, and 24/7 we're there. I'm more than happy as well to meet up afterwards if there are any particulars that you wish to discuss that have come up recently, but hopefully there shouldn't be, but more than happy.
Thanks, Chris. Terry?
Thank you, and thank you, Heather. Was one of the questions, escalation, I was going to ask, because there were some issues the other weekend that could have potentially been meant that the tenant had to move out, but when I did ask, nobody was actually able to give me a confirmation that that could have happened, but it's good to see that's there. And if I could move on to Chris now, the main thing that the tenant panel find is that that many issues that are raised with us, it normally feeds back to communication, and it's being left like a mushroom. We book or we make a request for a repair, whatever that may be, and then we're left in the dark, and tenants have to start phoning up to chase up what's happening. And the communication officer, communication liaison officer you're talking about, will they be contacting tenants to let them know there is a delay on what's happening?
One of three that will be able to. I think the other key one are the two planners as well, that they'll be involved in they, you know, the calls will go through to the customer service team, but all the detail will be going to the planners, and where necessary they will also be able to have whole conversations with customers, phone them up, keep them updated. But you're absolutely right, the customer liaison will be that key link, and we'll be doing that continuously. And you know, and at the time, I'm sure when it's operational, it will be a two-way communication process as well. It won't be just, you know, it's not a blank number. It'll be someone that a tenant can talk to that customer liaison officer going forward to resolve anything at all.
Just to add to that, the customer liaison officer or the CLO would be a point of contact in terms of anything really that was escalated out of the day-to-day, out of the norm, whereas the planners are your day-to-day people, as it were, who will be booking appointments, making appointments with the tenants. Obviously, Waverley's team do the same, but there are some jobs that they can't appoint, which are more complex, and that goes to our team, the planners. Now, historically, I think where we've managed the planning, it's gone into like a customer services centre, and therefore there's lots of different people dipping into it. What we've done now is recognise that doesn't work for us or for you specifically. So these two people working day in, day out on Waverley have the oversight of all the jobs, all the operatives, and any sort of queries, concerns, any difficulties, positivities, queries from Waverley's hub go direct to those individuals. So between the two of them, they have the awareness of the whole contract. It's not going into a centralized hub with 20 different people who may or may not pick something up. And I think historically we've recognized that that's been the problem, that some jobs or some communications have fallen into the ether and nobody's had that ownership or responsibility. So by having this dedicated planning unit there, they have the ownership, they have the accountability, and they are the people responsible for making those things happen. And I think throughout the month we've seen a significant impact of that, and that will only improve as we go forward.
Thank you. Yeah, it does seem that it's an issue that it's getting the operative to the door. Once the operative is there, the work is done well, and with very few complaints about the operative. But it's that process of getting them there, and if you go back to the hub, they've got to go and ask somebody else, and you know, and then once you put two people in the line, there's a greater chance of that being not ignored but forgotten, and that's extremely frustrating. But thank you. And thank you for the work you're doing.
No, and I think that's absolutely fair. But going back on what Kate said, and again, just in this last 3 weeks, having the two dedicated planners that have real ownership of this contract and the operatives, there's a two-way process there, communication process, that, you know, they are holding them accountable. You know, if for whatever reason they aren't able to complete a job, they're not leaving that site or that resident until that's been rebooked with them at the time with that planner. And that planner will then continue to follow that up until that is achieved and completed as well. So that's where the ownership, I think massive change we'll see.
Well, thanks, Chris. I have Danielle ready to go.
Hi, Chris, and thanks for a very positive talk. That was really, I was quite pleased about the enthusiasm that you had for it all. I'm worried with a 5-year contract, because in the construction industry that I'm involved in, we look at pricing every year, because especially at the moment as well, with things going up. With a 5-year contract, how are you going to safeguard against being able to provide the same service in 4 years if costs continue to rise, or even just rise at a more normal world level? It's an issue.
Can I answer a little bit of that? It was a national procurement, obviously, and it's based on schedule of rates, which have been priced with a relevant discount applied. As part of the contract, there is also an annual review and a potential for a CPI uplift, which is an inflationary uplift, which is an annual event, should it be deemed necessary. So in theory, as we go through the life cycle of the contract, those prices will rise based on the inflationary rates with around us. So the anticipation is that shouldn't be a factor that affects us going forward, and that's kind of been accommodated throughout the pricing journey, as it were. However, the only thing I would say, and this is a very unlikely thing to take place, but how we work in this type of scenario is really closely in partnership with Waverley, and therefore if there was anything that was totally outside of the norm, for whatever reason that is, I don't know, they've stopped the supply of doors or whatever it happens to be, if there's something which is going to have a significant impact, then our commercial team are aware of that situation. We table that information with Waverley, we have those intelligent discussions, and we come to an amicable decision on how we take that forward. Because as a business, we want to give you the best service and the best sort of value for money. But it is also important that as an organisation, we are a profitable organisation within the realms that we've tendered, and that is really important, because if we can't deliver on that basis, it puts more pressures on us. So we want to be able to be profitable, we want to deliver you the best value for money, and we want to have the sort of the opportunity to resource in or up accordingly as we go throughout that journey. But like I said, inherently it's based on the CPI. So an annual review, we'll do it every year, and it's based on a fixed period in the year, and we'll look at those figures and we'll decide if it's worthy, and then we'll pop that in, and it's all very open and upfront.
Thank you. Good to hear that there's that ongoing communication and relationship. My other question is, after reading another awful child protection story this morning, is it a sort of slight part of your contractor's role just to keep an eye on safeguarding, and maybe not in a particularly policing way, but if there's a tenant that may need a little bit of extra support or something that might be a bit worrying, is that still something that you would be keeping an eye on?
Absolutely. That is huge. My previous experience, I was a safeguard lead myself, and since I've been here as well, not only have Ian Williams got their own internal training from a safeguarding point of view, but we've taken on, and all my operatives that have gone through Waverley Borough's safeguarding training as well. My new batch of operatives are due to be done at the end of May, and they will continue that on an annual basis, and with top-ups as well. And they've all been supported, and they all know that anything that they see, you report it. Even if you're wrong, just report it. It's better to say, and I will take that on and have a good relationship with the Waverley team as well, to be able to then go and talk to a housing officer or whoever to pass that on. And I'm very confident that, I feel supported in that as well, which I think is key. But certainly the ops have got that message, and they know to come to me directly. Absolutely. Key.
Okay, Danielle, right, fine. Officers, have you got any comments you'd like to make at this stage?
Thank you, Chair.
Sorry, Andrew.
Sorry, all I was going to say was that's great, because as the safeguarding lead for Waverley, we do take our safeguarding responsibility linking in with our contractors very seriously. And what you just said, Chris, is brilliant, and that's great. And we do look at the operatives out there as eyes and ears, just to pick up something. And the point you made about not quite sure whether it's right or not, that you call it in. And then that may be part of a bigger picture where a particular household has concerns and we can feed that in. So an integrated approach to safeguarding in all of our tenants' homes is great. I just wanted to emphasise how good that was and how it links in with our overall council safeguarding policy. It's a great question, Daniel.
Thanks, Andrew. Heather, did you want to comment?
Yeah, just sort of really backing up what Kate said about the rates and the spiraling cost of living that we're all experiencing. Within the contract, we actually put in an extra uplift in September, which is not normal. We normally just do it annually, but because of when the contract was priced versus the current market conditions that we're in, we were cognizant as officers producing the contract that prices are inflating at a horrendous rate. So that has been put in as a safeguarding mechanism, because obviously we don't want any delays to the delivery of the service. And just to give an example as well of the open conversations that we had last year, there was an issue with the scaffolding rates and the prices that the scheduled rates were paying. They just weren't covering the price of scaffolding in any shape or form, and we came to an agreement, a negotiated agreement, that we would pay our actual costs as when we saw quoted rates, and that was to the benefit of everybody and to ensure that the service delivery was as it should be. So it's something we're really cognizant on. We're experiencing at the moment in the roofing contract, we've been given supply lead times of 48 weeks. So we're having to go back to the drawing board and consider different options because it's just the market forces at the moment. So absolutely, we're on that commercial side working with our contracting partners constantly.
Thanks, Heather. Any more questions? Annalisa?
Not a question, but hopefully a little conclusion. Everybody in the room. Oh, I'm sorry. Do you want to ask a question first?
Sorry, Simon, please go ahead.
Sorry, I missed the beginning of the presentation, which I apologise for. Are your employees DSB checked?
Yes, they are. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's done before they even set foot on site. That's done through recruitment and HR. Absolutely.
There was a question I was asked by one of the residents before I left for this morning.
Absolutely, and Kate, I'm sure you'll quote me if I'm wrong, but that's at all levels, myself included, all DBS checked as part of the process to join Ian Williams. Yeah.
Thank you.
Annalisa?
I just wanted to thank Chris and Kate for their time to come and speak to us today, and I'm sure we will be inviting them in the future to get ongoing progress updates. We're all very aware that having an effective responsive repair service is key to our relationship with our tenants. If we get responsive repairs right, we know that their satisfaction with everything we do is increased. So Chris and his team are very aware of the importance. We're all here because we want to provide good quality homes where it's safe for people to live. And I just really thank you for coming today. Really good to hear from the horse's mouth. I mean, I'm delighted to see the number of operatives that you've got on the ground now, and your escalation process. And for me, that the information about you having two planners who are going to know Waverley, they know our homes, they know your operatives, they're going to know how long it takes to get from Farnham to Cranley. They're going to be able to provide a much better service for everybody. So I'm really optimistic, and I want to thank everybody for their hard work through the whole procurement process and getting us to where we are. So I'm really positive about the future. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Annalisa. So, and to the Ian Williams team, thank you very much. Oh, sorry, Jill, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Paul. I've been trying to come in for ages. Just to say, I'm delighted to actually see Chris Shipway. We haven't actually met, but I do hope we will meet soon, Chris, when the promised benches arrive at Stonepit Close, which I've been promised as a tenants panel member for several months now. Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely, 100%. I've phone crown paints myself today, but they did say 12 weeks, and that's up now. That has gone through, and they have promised them 100%.
Thank you.
Not a problem.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Thanks, Jill. Thanks for that. I'm sure that Chris will see that through to early completion. Otherwise, he'll have you to answer for, I'm sure, and none of us would like to be on that side. So, Ian Williams' team, thank you very much for your time this morning. Found it very useful. I think good luck. Danielle? Oh, Danielle, right. Okay. Thanks. We'll move on then to item 5, which is a garage briefing note. This is for us to note. Annalisa, do you want to say anything about that first?
Yes, just to say that this was raised at the Landlord Services Advisory Board when they were looking at the budgets. We had a bit of a conversation about garages. So we'll pull together the briefing note to let you know where we're at, how many we've got, what income we get from them, and what the developments are. There was particular interest in what garage sites we had used to develop homes on. So within the papers, there's a presentation that shows you all the different homes that have been developed. But really, just really to flag that the provision of garages is not a core housing function. It's something that we do, and it's a legacy. And really, for the recommendations, I'm suggesting that we put a proposal in to actually have a bit of budget for further appraisals in garages next financial year. So when we get to budget setting in October, November, you might want to remember that you might want to propose something to go into the next year's budget, because this year we really need to focus on our housing asset management strategy and focus on our homes and make sure we've got a good programme of work for those. But I'm happy to take any questions.
Thanks, Annalisa. Thank you, members, for noting that. Moving on to item 6, tenancy review project update. We're working you hard this morning, Annalisa. Thank you very much.
Let's hope I'm a bit swifter with the IT today than I was last month. And there we go. So really, as you know, we're in the middle of a consultation process to review our tenancy agreement and our proposal to stop using flexible tenancies. Because there's different elements of work, I just wanted to give you an update today. Sorry, bear with me, I can't move the screen on. How come yours worked and mine didn't? Oh, there we go. So just a reminder, we're reviewing the tenancy agreement. We're proposing to stop using flexible tenancies, which are the 5-year fixed term tenancies. We're taking the opportunity to review the clauses in our tenancy agreement, and at the last meeting, we went through those main changes. And if we're changing the way we use if we stop using flexible tenancies, then we need to update our tenancy policy and our tenancy strategy. So the consultation is underway. I have Amy joining us through Zoom, and I just wanted to ask her to give us a little feedback on where we're at halfway through the consultation phase.
Hi, Annalisa, thank you. Hi, everyone. So a quick update on how the consultation is going so far. Since we started the consultation on the 4th of April, we've had a total of 104 responses across the different avenues that we've made available for tenants and other stakeholders to feed back to us. And that's including the online form, via telephone, email, and our drop-ins, which have been through to date. We've had 1 over Zoom and 2 in 2 of our senior living schemes, which took place yesterday. The majority of the responses have come through via the online form. If I give you a quick breakdown of what the feedback is looking like so far, when asked, do you agree with the proposal for Waverley Borough Council's housing, to stop using flexible tenancies, 53 out of 54 agreed, with some people saying that they think it's a fairer approach. They felt that security for tenants was invaluable, and people commented about how they felt more at ease to invest in their homes. Moving on to the second part of the consultation, but sticking with the online form, when people were asked to what extent do you agree with the proposed changes that we are proposing to the conditions of tenancy, 29 strongly agreed, 12 agreed. We had 7 neutral responses, and there was no disagreed or strongly disagreed, which was really good. We did have 6 people that expressed that they disagreed with a specific change in the conditions of tenancy. I think on the whole, the majority of those have been to do with perhaps me not explaining the information properly in the or as well as what could be done in the preliminary notice of variation, because it's obviously quite a wordy document and it's quite hard to get that information across. But for instance, one person was upset that they would have to help facilitate the emptying of their septic tank, which obviously we would never ask a tenant to help us do that. What we meant by that was actually kind of let us in when we need to do maintenance to it and things like that. So it's that was the majority. I think the one thing that has come up a few times that we're going to have to consider is around the removal of the word good before repair, as that seems to be coming up in a few different avenues. To summarise responses that have come through in the other ways that we've been collecting feedback from people, again, on the whole, it's been positive. There's been no opposition to stopping the use of flexible tenancies. And in terms of the conditions of tenancy, as I alluded to, a couple of people have disagreed with the removal of the word good before repair. So that is something that we're going to look at in more detail as part of this consultation process. Some people were upset about the amount of paper that was used to inform people of to serve the preliminary notice of variation, but unfortunately it is a legal process, so we did our best to keep the document as short as possible. It's unfortunate that that is the most economical way we have of contacting all tenants at once at the moment. So that's where we are at the moment. We've got a few weeks left of consultation. It has started to slow down in terms of the online form and the emails and the telephone calls. And we have 2 more drop-ins that are taking place at Moat Lodge and Riverside Court next week.
Thank you, Amy. That's great. So we're halfway through. We've had some really positive feedback, and I have to say, when we did the research and proposed to end flexible tenancies, that was because we felt that we had a 2-tier system. We were treating people in flexible tenancies and secure tenancies very differently, and our concern was that people would feel insecure and not invest in their home or feel secure in their home in the same way. And I have to say, during the drop-in sessions, when we've spoken to people, that's been a real theme, that people are very concerned that the council could turn around and they'd lose their home after 5 years. And that has an impact on their health and their anxiety and their well-being. So the consultation feedback that is coming back about it's best to give people a secure tenancy, to give them that stability in their home. So that's been really good. And then today I just wanted just to let you know about the summary of the amendments to the tenancy policy. So the tenancy policy is the document that regulates how Waverley as a landlord issue tenancy agreements. So if we're going to do away with flexible tenancies, we need to remove all reference to flexible tenancies. And to actually use flexible tenancies, as you've seen, is quite bureaucratic. There's a lot of work about, and the table of exceptions would be if when we didn't renew a flexible tenancy. So that information can all be put aside and is no longer required if we're not using them anymore. We've taken the opportunity to include a reference about joint tenancies, because that's something people quite often ask questions about. We've also made reference, that's supposed to say reference, to social housing stigma and the reason why we want to stop using flexible tenancies. And also we've just clarified some of the succession rights, and that is when you can pass your tenancy on when a tenant has died if their partner has been living with them for the last 12 months. And we've also updated the language. So when the policy and strategy were originally developed, they were very much focused on the government guidance at the time that talked about maximising the use of your housing stock. And really, Waverley wants to focus on changing that ethos to actually creating cohesive communities and places where people feel secure and are happy in their homes. So that then leads on to the changes in the tenancy strategy. The tenancy strategy document is what advice is given to all social housing providers. So again, we want to remove the flexible and fixed term tenancies. We've included references to the housing affordability study. You will hopefully recall the affordable homes delivery strategy that was passed by council this week. It came here in January. So we're updating the strategy to include the proposed affordable rent caps. So we've spoken a number of times about how 80% of the market rent in Waverley is not affordable to the majority of people on the housing register. So the affordable homes delivery strategy has recommended that within Waverley, we class affordable rents as 70% of market rent for 1 and 2 bedroom homes and 65% of market rent for 3 and 4 bedroom homes. So we want to make sure that the homes that are built in Waverley to meet our housing need are actually homes that people can afford to live in. So again, we want to change the ethos of the language within the strategy. We've updated the numbers about the number of social housing homes in the borough, updated the information about the number of applicants waiting for homes in the area, and also updated the conversion rate. So other social housing providers can, when a home becomes empty, they can decide that they want it to become an affordable rent rather than a social rent. I don't believe that has happened that much within this area, but we wanted to say that we would only expect 50% of empty homes to be moved onto affordable rents rather than the current 60%. But as Andrew is confirming in my ear, that the social housing sector has recognised that affordable rents are not affordable and not the way forward to provide the homes that we want to meet the need in the borough. So it's something we just wanted to update, but I don't think it would have a big issue. So those are the summary amendments to the policy and the strategy. Just to remind you, we're still in the consultation process. We've got till the 29th of May. Hopefully you've seen some of our social media posts on Instagram, I saw, and on Twitter. And we will be coming back to you in May. We won't have the full consultation results then because it's 3 days before the end of the consultation period. But what I want to bring back to you in May is how Waverley meets the tenancy standard for the housing regulator. So I'll share with you what the housing regulator says. Social landlords should the rules they have around issuing tenancies, and I'll bring you the information to see how we're working and give you assurance that we are meeting the regulatory requirements. And then we'll come back to you at the end of June with the consultation results. But so far the project's going really well. We've had some lovely drop-in events, and I'm looking forward to the events next week as well. So happy to take any questions.
Thanks, Annalisa. Jackie, you wanted a word?
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I just wanted to touch on the Annalisa, you mentioned about, hopefully reducing the stigma to council housing tenants and so on. I personally, I don't know about the tenants panel, how they feel about this, but I really don't think that there is such a huge stigma now about council tenants versus, homeowners. I mean, I live on High Lane Estate in Haslemere, and quite frankly, there is no distinction really between tenants and homeowners. I mean, I just don't see it anymore. You used to see it back in the 80s, 90s. I think it was far greater, but now, no, I don't think so. I don't know what Terry thinks about that, but I don't see it myself. And I think that's a really good thing. There's great integration.
Thank you, Jackie. I wouldn't totally agree with you. I believe that there is still stigma, and probably some on the much larger housing estates. It's definitely better. It's definitely got better, and it's probably not between residents. It's between other users of services. So that's it's still there, but it is improving.
Okay, all right. Thanks, Terry. Any more questions, Danielle?
Just a comment really in relation to what Jackie said. Yeah, do you know, for some reason, I've been in in my home for 10 years, and it's taken me a long time to openly say, oh yeah, actually, no, I don't own my house. I rent from the council. And I think it's because when you go to local schools, a lot of people are homeowners and such like, and, you know, there's some big houses around here, and you can feel a bit awkward that you're a council tenant. And like I say, after 10 years, I don't know if it's me that's changed or everything else that's changed or a combination, but yeah, I definitely felt that stigma, especially in this very affluent area. You know, there's quite a big gap between people, I guess. And I was going to say something else, I forgot. Oh, pass. Anyway, yeah, so I think it is still there, definitely.
Thanks, Danielle. Terry?
Thank you. I'd just drop back to the questionnaire and the changes on the word good, and the reason that I was one of those that object to that being removed. I think it mentions that the council will keep the accommodations or the houses in good repair, and I believe there was some legal document that said, or advice that said that shouldn't necessarily be there. But the question, well, my answer really, or rejection really, is that if you remove that, if you look further on in the document, it says that tenants must keep their areas in good repair. So if you're going to take it away from one, we must take it away from both.
Yep, absolutely. And this is why we have the consultation. We're not going to make any decisions today. We've taken on board the legal advice. We'll take on board the feedback that comes back. I think we try to be very clear that even if we remove the word good, it doesn't change the quality of the repair. But I understand the use of language. And legally, the advice is that good repair doesn't actually mean anything. What one person thinks of good is very different to another person's good, but it is something we will look at and we'll review, and then we'll come back with a suggestion. It could be that we decide, because legally it doesn't really mean anything, but it's a nice phrase, we could just leave it as it is, or we could say, oh, actually we're open to challenge, and there's going to be an issue around that. But I'm looking at Chris, because we're talking to the contractors about that as well, about that word good and what does it mean to people. And I think operationally what we do won't change. It should be continue to improve, but it's that perception. If we take the word good out of a tenancy agreement, what's the perception of that? And is that giving people trust in what we're doing? So I think that there is a debate to be had about that.
Thanks, Annalisa. Okay, all right. Yeah, we do have problems with languages, or even one language, as far as I'm concerned, and I have problems with that. You know, things like best efforts, reasonable efforts, all of these keep lawyers in multiple houses, I should think. Okay, thank you, everybody. Moving on then to item 7, Senior Living Consultation Progress Report, and back to Annalisa. Thank
you. Yes, we agreed we'd keep this on the agenda, more of just to give you assurance that progress is being made. The letter that we were hoping to publish in April has been drafted, and I believe is with the tenants panel this week for their review. So it should definitely be with residents at the beginning of next week. So looking forward to your feedback. we want to make sure that it's understandable, it's easy to read, and it's clear. As we say, we always say communication is key, and we need to make sure that our communication is effective. And then the other actions that were due around this time and moving into next month were about the senior living manager reviewing all the individual comments that had been made on the feedback forms, and what he's done with his team is he's split those up into the different scheme areas, and the senior living officers are going through those comments and identifying any additional works or discussions to have with residents about the issues they raised. So, thank you.
Thanks, Annalisa. Any comments, anyone? Okay, that's great. Okay, so now just to our work programme. Any comments from anybody? Annalisa, is there something that we should have done that we haven't done, or vice versa? Something we have done that we shouldn't have done?
No, I don't believe so. I don't have it in front of me, but just to confirm that the rents team will be coming to the May meeting to give a presentation about their work and to give you a bit of context. And again, we'll be looking at the regulator's rent standard and how we work within those guidance rules.
Excellent, thank you. Any comments? Then last but not least, date of next meeting is 26th of May this year. So members and all those remotely, thank you very much for your time and attendance, much appreciated. And I'm happy to close the meeting at 11:05.